Welcome to episode 1 of the Gonzo MMA Podcast. Here we are, episode 1, dropping today on December 29th, 2025. I'm going to introduce our guest for today out of New York City, I believe, Jack MMA. What's up, dude?
What's up? Thank you for having me, Gonzo. I appreciate it. Come on, you know how to come in for you.
Yeah. So as I said, Jack's a YouTube creator. Been doing this for a number of years now. I really like this stuff. So, I reached out, asked him if he wanted to come on. And the way we're going to structure the episode is basically the first half, we're going to, we both cover MMA, UFC, combat sports, right? So first we're going to just talk about, news and shit going on in the media landscape right now. But at the second half of this episode, anybody who's listening this, who's ever had the thought or desire or just, been like, oh, I should do this. I should start a YouTube channel, or I should start a podcast, or, anyone who's ever been oriented in that way at all. We're going to get into some of Jack's creative process, his experience covering, MMA on YouTube and other platforms, and just, tips and tricks and advice, your journey, your creative process. That's 50% of the reason why I decided to sort of do this for the series, right? Is talk to YouTubers out there and just understand, what goes into this shit for real. Cause not gonna lie, it's a fucking grind sometimes, man. It's not always fun and games, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. You will definitely get deep into it. I'm willing to be open with anything. Some people like to gatekeep info, but that's not what we do here. We give out all the good details. So.
Oh shit. Yeah. You don't want to, we don't want to reveal all of our, secret training techniques before fight night. So then the opponents can use it to their advantage. Take us out. I hear you.
We'll
yeah, go ahead.
Guys. We'll be open with it, and we'll teach you guys how to really start up the channel. I always encourage everybody to start a channel. To, if you even just have a feeling, just why not? Just go for it. Why not? I mean,
yeah, dude,
stuff out there.
I procrastinated for years, forever. I would always consume podcasts and all kind of shit. I was like, dude, I should fucking do this. All I do is watch sports and think about it and talk about it and shoot shit and have opinions. And, you listen to people on TV and I think I'm smarter than half of them anyways.
Yeah.
let the audience decide, I guess.
Yeah. Well, like I say, honestly, I do say this, people say this, not to get too ahead of the YouTube talk or anything like this, but people say oh, you got to know how to fight to, I guess talk about combat sports, which I think is important. Of course, I think definitely you should at least have some training, some things like that, in my opinion. But also, just because you fight doesn't mean necessarily you could talk about combat sports, because that requires critical thinking skills. Not every fighter has that. I'm just going to say that. So that's why I feel like sometimes we see fighters that are very good that just can't speak about the sport, because I feel like it's more of a critical. But some guys, obviously, like DJ, very good. I mean, shout out to DJ. Shout out to obviously there's a lot of good fighters that give good analysis. I'm trying to think of someone on top of my head that doesn't, but maybe Anthony Smith. Shout out Anthony Smith, but the best.
Yeah, no, I mean, to your point, I mean, just you being a, world-class elite fighter doesn't mean that presentation skills, like you said, critical thinking, structure, pacing, the technical aspect of things, sometimes even personality. You could be a great fighter with a personality of a cardboard box,
Yeah, that too.
I don't want to throw any shade at Bo Nickel or Gable Steveson, but I guess I just did. Yeah, and listen, I think if you're serious about the craft, if you take pride in what you do and you're a content creator, you're going to study this shit. Right. And anyways, there's different lanes. You could be a Jack Slack and go full hardcore, technical breakdowns, fight analysis, the strategy, the positions, what the fighters are thinking about. That's one lane. There's a certain audience who wants to learn it, wants to view it from that perspective. And then there's just some talking shit, cracking jokes. You don't need to be a professional fighter to be entertaining and poke fun at things.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think I do better on the mic than in the cage.
I think so too, for sure.
So I guess, that's kind of a perfect segue, because the first topic of conversation for today, we're going to get into the Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua fight. So talk about a super successful YouTuber, internet personality who transitioned into a combat sport, and the boxing in this case. I don't know, just like straight off the top, general reaction to that fight. Like, what were you, what did you, what was like the first thing that popped in your mind after all that shit was over? Like,
I mean, like, honestly, I was just thinking, like, it could have been a lot worse for him. Like, I was talking about going into the fight. Like, it's a fight that's dangerous for Jake. You know, people laugh at me when I say that and think I'm being dramatic, but I actually do think it was a dangerous fight. Like, he could have gotten knocked out. And look, we've seen when you get knocked out cold, you're not the same after that. So maybe Jake gets knocked out. We don't know how much he's also sparring and training with people. So it's like, how much damage to the head has he realistically taken? And then if he would have gotten knocked out cold, it didn't happen. He did get hit really hard, and there's even footage I've seen after where Jake gets up, and it's like ringside footage where he's still wobbly, like he's struggling to stand, even though, you know, like the shot on Netflix, like it looked like, okay, I got hit with a right hand, but then you see the other angles, and it's like, damn. So I was just honestly thinking, like, he's lucky, you know what I'm saying, that he didn't get knocked out cold, but even still, I wonder, you know, how will this affect him moving on? Will he continue to box? I mean, I know he says he will, but I don't know. You know, breaking your jaw is pretty tough.
dude, yeah, no, that was gnarly as fuck. You see like the pictures. I just caught one of them today, not like the X-ray, but like the actual like close-up shot of in his mouth, and you could see his teeth like a
Yeah.
S, you know, like a crooked ass. Yeah, that was brutal. Um, you know, it seems like when it comes to Jake Paul, there's no like middle ground. It's like a hot take, like you're a hater or you're a fan. Like in general, right? Like he's a super polarizing individual. If I had to put you in a camp, are you do you lean further into the like, yeah, no, I really don't like the guy? Or are you more like, no, like this guy deserves respect, business mogul, he's built himself up as a fighter? Like which way do you lean more or less?
I'm an unapologetic Jake hater for sure. Unapologetic. I've been saying it. Like I said, I was so much of a hater. People were trying to say like, "Oh, respect, for giving him, respect to Jake for fighting Anthony Joshua." This is what I said before the fight. This was even before the fight happened. So I've been saying this. Jake fighting Anthony Joshua just proves how much of a bitch he is in boxing. Because, and I know people are gonna be like, "Huh, like why? Why would that be the case?" So I say this: Jake would much rather like fight a guy like Anthony Joshua, who he obviously has like no chance in beating, right? So like we all know he's going to lose. So when he loses, it's like, okay, he lost to Anthony Joshua, opposed to just fighting somebody that's like actually like even in skill with him, like Tommy Fury. You know what I'm saying? Where Tommy Fury beat him, and that was a fair fight. I mean, they've both been boxing. I know Tommy Fury's been boxing a long time, but Jake's been boxing also and has experience, so you would think it would be an even fight, and he lost. That's way more embarrassing for Jake, I'm sure, than losing to Anthony Joshua, so that I think even these decisions, it's like, dude, just take a real challenge. It's really not that tough. Is it really this tough to like find a decent challenge like Darren Till? I saw someone in my comment section suggest Darren Till. I thought that was a great choice for who Jake could fight next, but I doubt it. We'll see who he fights. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, and see when he fights too at this point with that injury. Yeah, I also would have to put myself in much more of a hater camp. And it's funny because like, going back to whenever it was 2017, like I think I watched the first couple, like maybe like the Ben Askren one. Was it the Nate Thompson was the basketball player?
No, it was
That he fought?
Nate Robinson.
Nate Robinson. That's it. Nate Robinson. That's right. Like I watched like the first couple, and then I was like, you know what? I'm categorically out on this. Like this is a freak show. This is a circus. This is not. I don't. There's nothing really competitive about this. He's handpicking opponents that he's just gonna smash, and it's just a money grab. And like I don't. I'm out. I didn't even watch the Tyson fight. You know what I mean? I'm like, nope.
Yeah,
You're
shout out.
you're fighting a fucking 80-year-old. Like, take a real fight. I'm not like, I don't find this compelling in any way, shape, or form. um and I was one of the critics who always said like, he will never fight someone who will actually beat him. He only takes a fight if the tables are tilted heavily in his favor, right? Like Gervonta Davis. So when it was announced he was fighting Joshua, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, like, not to be a hypocrite, to I'll watch this one. I'll watch him get his face smashed in. Um, and it's funny because I remember the first time I encountered a Jake Paul fan in real life. So it's like a dude that I've been hooping with for years. I've known him for probably the last 5-10 years. We play basketball together. And somehow Jake Paul came up and fighting came up. And, I was talking shit about Jake Paul, and he's a boxing fan. Like what's your favorite sport? Boxing. That he watches like every event, like hardcore boxing guy. And he went and spit this whole bit of wisdom on me, taught like pro Jake Paul stuff, right? So let me just for a second take the like Jake Paul apologist or PR guy or whatever you want to call. So his point specifically was that like, the criticism everyone has that I just delivered, that like Jake Paul only takes favorable matchups where, he obviously has an advantage, and he was just like, artificially building his profile or building his career. This dude that I play basketball with pointed out to me that that's actually what every boxer does. Like a serious boxer who like, goes through the amateur ranks, maybe fights in Olympics or whatever. And then when they make their pro career, their coaches and their team specifically only book them against people that they have, in that case, it's competitive, right? But like a stylistic matchup, someone that doesn't have power if you got a weak jaw, or someone who's whatever. Point being that like, to grow your profile in boxing, you take a bunch of tune-up fights against journeymen or people who are less skilled than you, just so you can build up a big record and a buzz. And then eventually when you get to the top, prior to like, Turkey Al Sheikh, and now they actually fight each other. But like the whole point was to stat pad until you're a big enough name that you get a prize fighter to, at the top of your career. I guess it kind of gave me a tiny bit more credit in the Jake Paul journey,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm still fucking out. Like I,
Yeah.
I don't know. Um,
I think too, like, yo, like, boxers do that, but those boxers also aren't talking shit at that same time while they're doing that, being like, oh, I could beat this guy, I could beat this guy, and like just disrespecting legit fighters, being like, oh, I could beat them. Like, then it's like, yo, you're asking for people to call out your fights, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're gonna talk shit, of course people are gonna say, well, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? If Jake had like an attitude of like, look, I'm boxing, which obviously wouldn't be entertaining, so I don't blame him for not doing this. But if he had the attitude of being like, look, I'm just trying to learn to box, like, like I got to take these little matchups, and was just upfront about it, I think people probably wouldn't give him hate. But it's just the fact that, he's obviously talking shit. He's always talked shit about UFC fighters. He's not as much lately, but that was like his MO back in the day. So, I think that's where the hate comes from, honestly.
yeah, yeah, no, fair enough. And it's like, I don't know. One of the things that I appreciate about sports is the competition, right? Like this person leveraging their skills, especially fighting, like who's the best, climbing the rankings. It's why we have these debates. It's like you want to, you get invested in the journey of someone becoming the best in the world. Whereas, like I said, Jake Paul's fights were not that. Like, okay, I guess he was taking training seriously and like, making career out of it, whatever, which is what his fans or, will say. But at the same point in time, it wasn't to ostensibly at least like reach that pinnacle or that level. And when you watch his fights, it just felt like an entertainment product, not a sporting competition to me. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? It
Yeah,
like,
1,000%.
yeah,
1,000%. I think it's like more, and I mean, I think that's just, especially combat sports in general. Like, you got to have at least, I guess, some sort of entertainment factor. That's what I'm saying. Like, it wouldn't be entertaining if Jake was legit, like, yo, I'm just trying to learn how to box. Like, let me just fight people that are in a similar skill set. Like, now, of course, he's going to talk shit. Of course, he's going to rile people up. And look, he's got now 2 fights on Netflix. So I understand what he's doing, but I feel like we could obviously feel a type of way about it. And, it's like, enough, dude. It's like I don't know. I think he's playing a villain a bit, but also I do think that he's just like not good in general. So that's why I don't think it's just an act. Like I feel like he has a bit of an ego himself. So that's why I legit just don't like him. But if he was playing a villain and was actually okay faking it, all right, fine, I'll move on. But I feel like he trolls, yeah, which is okay, whatever. But it's also the ego on top of it, I think.
yeah. Which I guess if you're making that much money, your ego doesn't get smaller. I don't think you know what I mean?
Yeah, one
Like
thousand
success
percent.
feeds that shit. To your point, I mean, taking the fight with AJ, first of all, he only did it because the shit that popped off with Gervonta Davis, and then they were going to, like, that was the main event for the card. So he needed to replace it, and he needed to replace it with something that Netflix would stomach, right? As opposed to just killing the whole thing. And so there's only so many opponents you can do that. I'm not saying he wouldn't have fought a heavyweight eventually, like, you know what I mean? Because if you're going to make the money, if it's going to sell, sure. But let's not forget that, like, he was again in, like, intending to go fight someone who he had as much of a size advantage over, if not more, than he took on the other side against Joshua. And the fact is, you know, Joshua would sell. So it's not like, I don't know. I feel the same way as you do in sense of, like, you know, oh, you got to give him respect for getting in there. Like, why?
Yeah.
He didn't book AJ, like, first off. He wasn't trying to, and get into some commentary on the fight. He wasn't there to win.
Yeah.
He was like, there was nothing about his strategy. Did you hear Ariel Helwani's take on this? He went on, like, a long rant about, you know, why that was the right strategy for Jake. Did you catch that at all?
No, I didn't. But I saw that he talked about the fight a little bit, but I didn't see. No, he said it was the right strategy. Like,
Yeah, basically he said that, like, you know, if Jake Paul went into it with the intention of standing and, like, trading with Joshua, and, like, you know, like you would in a normal fight, right? Like, you take some, you have to be in striking range and not running away the whole time to land a punch. And if he had done that, he would have gotten knocked out in the first round, which is absolutely true. So Ariel Helwani was saying that, like, it was the right strategy to run and then try to catch him. You know what I mean? Like, kind of randomly, right? Like, just run. You're on your bike. And then when he steps in and there's an opening, just hope that you land that one punch, which I guess is true, right? Like, in a sense that, like, but to your point before, like, if you're a serious fighter, like, if any other boxer who's, like, trying to have a serious boxing career went in and did exactly what Jake Paul did, like, literally just blatantly run away, and if he gets anywhere near you or lands, you clinch and drop to your knees and grab his legs, how would we be talking about those fighters? You know what I mean? Like, it would be mad disrespect. It would be like they would be made fun of like crazy. But because it's Jake Paul, it was the smart move. I don't know.
No, I feel like for that, it's like I feel like it was the right game plan in a way, because that's what I kind of said in my video. But it just kind of like, it just shows how impossible it is to beat Anthony Joshua, that his best game plan was literally, like, running away from him. Like, it just shows, like, there was absolutely no way he would have legit beat him, because you're not going to beat him by running away and doing all that. Clearly, look at what happened. It just shows there was absolutely no game plan for Jake, you know what I'm saying, to actually get a win. You know, like, it was impossible.
Yeah. And he knew that. Anthony Joshua knew that. Everybody knew that. And for some reason, everybody signs up and, like, watches it. And I don't know, man. Every single time I've watched a Jake Paul fight, like, I feel like I have heartburn after. I'm like, what did I just do with the last?
Regret.
Yeah. So
Instant regret.
I don't know. I mean, if we'll end it on this, like, who would you want to see him fight? Like, if you could make the matchup of any matchup, like, which one would be most compelling to you as a viewer, as a fan?
I would probably say, like I said, I saw comments or comment Darren Till. I actually think that's a pretty good option. I like that way. Or I've seen obviously KSI, but I don't know how realistic that is. Just because, like, I don't really care who Jake fights. Like, I don't think there really is any name out there that I care about. But Darren Till, I think, would be all right. That's like an even fight, and Darren Till's been doing pretty good in boxing. So I wouldn't mind seeing it. He's a pretty young guy. So, look, maybe you could actually have a competitive fight with him and call it a career. But he probably is going to fight, I think, like a bum. Probably someone ridiculous. I think we're going to be like, what the hell is he doing fighting this person? Not like and not ridiculous in Anthony Joshua way, but I'm saying ridiculous as in, like, oh, man, like another one-sided matchup. Like, I feel like it's going to be totally out of the box. Maybe he'll do, like, I don't even know, just someone incredibly old at this point. That's
so what about, so I actually haven't followed KSI's, like, combat sports career at all. So, like, I don't know, like, skill level, you know what I mean? I don't even know, like, are they the same size? Is KSI and Jake Paul, like, similar size?
No, that's the problem, is, like, there's, like, now, like, a lot of weight separating them. So, yeah, so that's a bit of an issue, I think, for them. But, I mean, if they could, I think that Jake is too big now. I think that a big problem with Jake's, like, boxing recently has been the fact that he's, like, in a bigger weight class. you know.
Yeah, well, and also probably like pulling in way bigger numbers. Like you, like if fighting KSI is not going to draw anything close to what he's doing, why would he take a step back, right? Like
Hmm.
just like financially. Um, which I think is a perfect segue to one of the other topics I wanted to talk about. Did you watch the Andrew Tate, the Misfits fight at all?
Yeah, I did. I did actually see that. Yeah.
So I didn't catch it. I just like saw the highlights and the excuses and like all that stuff after. And again, I actually don't know or didn't know prior to a couple hours ago really anything about Andrew Tate as like a individual, like his background or any of the
Hmm.
controversies or anything. What did you think of that event and like in general that fight? And actually, have you watched like other Misfits events? Like I don't really watch their shit, so yeah, tell me
Yeah,
about it.
I'm not really in the loop with Misfits as much, to be honest with you. Like a big reason was more honestly Tony Ferguson. Shout out, got the win, so shout out to Tony Ferguson. But I was like, all right, yo, let me see this Andrew Tate fight. Let me see what's up. And I like similar to you. I don't really follow Andrew Tate. I've known about the controversial stuff and his past. But and I've seen the memes, the alpha male, the this, that. And I saw on the tail of tape he was 39, and I was like, damn, 39 years old. Like, that's pretty old against a guy who's young, who's boxed a few times. I know Andrew Tate has a kickboxing background, but that's tough. That's when I was like, maybe he won't win this, man. I don't know. I wouldn't be so certain. And he did lose. I mean, the fight was it wasn't a good fight. I won't lie to you. I mean, I didn't see, I saw bits and pieces of it. I saw but over half about the fight, I would probably say. Um, and it was just like it was just a weird fight. I just think that Andrew Tate might be too old. I'm curious, man, because they probably paid this guy so much money to get in there. I think they probably want him to fight KSI or fight someone in Darren Till maybe, and get a super fight out of this. So they probably paid this guy a massive bag, and he just lost. And now it's like, what the hell do we do now? You know what I'm saying? Like they don't really have a star like that. I think because I don't know if KSI is even boxing or doing any of that, but. Um, they probably are upset, I would think, about Andrew Tate. But I mean, it was like I was just surprised, given obviously the talk like of Andrew Tate. You would think, oh, that I've seen him spar like 100 dudes or whatever, like quote unquote sparring 100 dudes that we've seen like these like YouTuber influencer guys do, where they just like beat on these dudes that don't know how to fight. So I don't know. I think once again he kind of deserved it in a way, like talking shit and you know more so like I hate when people they post like training videos and they're like purposely
Mm.
hurting their partners. Like it's like, all right, and then you get what you deserve. You know what I'm saying? You got humbled. So
Yeah, I mean, to your point, like someone who presents himself in such a way to go out and lose a fight against like someone who ostensibly has far less skill than you. I mean, did he well, like what happened in the fight? Like, did he get dominated? Did he get knocked down? Was it just like, he got outstruck a little bit and kind of like lost on points? Like, what? How did the fight sort of play out?
so the fight was a decision. And it was it was like it was a decently close decision, but I think most people probably figured that Andrew Tate won, just because I mean not Andrew Tate won. I'm sorry, Andrew Tate lost, and Chase Damore won. I forgot the guy's name for a second, Chase Damore, but that's the guy who actually fought him. I think he's like some reality star too. And yeah, so it went to a decision, and it was like I said, it was like a boring fight. Like it was a lot of clinching, crashing into each other, like a lot of bad technique from Chase. I think just throwing off Andrew Tate and Andrew getting tired, and as the fight went on, that's what Andrew Tate said. He got tired. He did look really exhausted in round two, but like I said, I don't know. Maybe he felt like he was obviously going to win this. I mean, that's what happens, and then it's like as soon as things take a left turn, it's like, oh shit. Then you're even more tired and stressed, in the moment. So I think, and also his first fight in a long time, he was battling a lot of things going into the fight. That's why I was even saying in the tail of tape, I was like, I mean, look, at the end of the day, I know it's Andrew Tate. I know he's got a big following, but it doesn't really matter in there. Like we've seen all types of crazy shit happen, in the octagon ring or whatever, where it doesn't even matter. The following doesn't matter. The hype, the storylines. That's why I was like, I don't know about this. And yeah, and then he did lose. So, he got humbled a bit.
Yeah, it's interesting because like if you were to throw an event, whether it be MMA or boxing or kickboxing or Muay Thai or whatever, but like you throw an event and you put someone on the main event on the card who are two people that like clearly are like, we have like a scale of like, 0 to 100 in term, and 100 is like, the best fighters in the world in that discipline, and 0 is like the worst. And if you were to throw an event where two people are at like 20 or whatever, like they're clearly not skilled enough to deserve your attention just based on skill alone, right? Which is what I was saying about like sports and competition before. You're watching like high school level or like low Div 3 college level athletes. The reason people don't care is because they're not in that upper echelon. But as soon as there's a story behind it, as soon as, like you were saying, there's like, as soon as there's a narrative, these people have a following, suddenly now it's big business to sell fights based on that alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Does it like, were you a boxing guy before UFC, or you're like
I
mostly
was
MMA?
actually. There was actually a time where I was low key like a fuck, not fuck UFC, but like I was like, oh, boxing better. And obviously, like, come on, I obviously totally disagree. Like that was some like L takes back then. It was just some hater takes because UFC is killing boxing. I can't even lie. And obviously, like, as soon as I got into UFC, it was like fuck boxing because obviously, like, boxing it suffers with all this shit that people complain about oh, it's rigged, not rigged, not literally rigged, but I'm saying rigged in the way that the matchups are, this guy's getting this matchup, we're not seeing the top fight the top. And UFC in the past year has been kind of getting the same criticism, but I don't know, I don't think it's as bad as boxing yet.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna fall into the same camp here. I actually remember like early on in my like UFC when I was, still a casual, let's say, like kind of back in like during like the GSP early reign, like when, well, maybe not early, but like his like middle of his career. I remember I was one of those people that every time GSP would take someone down, I would start booing, complaining, and like, oh, it's boring. Like, you don't get that in boxing. Like I was one of those people that didn't understand or appreciate grappling back in the day and found it was boring and just wanted to watch people bang. And that's why I kind of like, preferred boxing or thought it was better or whatever, which is funny because that narrative, to your point, is fucking dead. It does not exist. You do
Yeah.
not hear it. You don't see it on Twitter. It's like, no, they won the war clearly. So yeah, same thing as you. I had that, sort of path as a fan, but I mean, the reason why I asked the question is just because like, I don't know. This is my take. This is how I feel most people think, but you tell me if you agree or not. I think that if you're a combat sports fan, these celebrity fights, like you know what I mean? Like if you watch UFC all the time or even boxing or whatever, like if you're a purist, if you enjoy the sport, if you self-identify as a fan, in general, these types of freak show fights are not for you. I think it's the casual people, the younger audience that Jake Paul is bringing, right? Like the influencer, Instagram, popular click, internet culture thing. They're like, oh shit, Jake Paul's fighting Mike Tyson. Like I have actually a 20-year-old daughter. Like her boyfriend was like, they were like 18 at the start, like 16, 17 at the time, would watch every Jake Paul fight. He's not a UFC fan, doesn't watch boxing, but he watch every Jake Paul fight. And that's what people say are good for the sport because he's bringing new eyeballs. But I don't know. Do you think that those two like fan bases like overlap, or is it kind of like, one or the other? Like you either like real fighting or you're down to watch that shit. Am I missing something?
I feel like no. I feel like for me, I would say is like it depends. I think if you have an even matchup, you can get invested in it. Like if Jake Paul is fighting, like I don't know, like you said, Mike Tyson. I don't think that's a good matchup just because it's not an even matchup. But if we actually have Jake Paul versus like Tommy Fury, when that fight was happening, I was interested in that fight because it was two legit boxers that could easily like fight one another and stuff like that. So I think I think as long as it's just an even matchup, that's all that matters. As long as it's not like one sided.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cause like if you make an analogy to, pretty much any other sport, like NFL, NBA, NHL, soccer, it doesn't matter. If it's one dominant team and then a dog shit team at the bottom of the league, how many people get up to watch that? Right.
Mm-hmm.
How many tickets are the Wizards selling right now against OKC, for just to make a random basketball analogy? Like no one wants to watch that. They're going to get blown out by 40 points. But that's, I guess, what's weird is that in theory, Jake Paul only takes matchups that should be a blowout for him, and people watch anyway. I don't know. I don't get it.
I like, as long as it's like, because there's been even KSI, when KSI fought Tommy Fury, that was, look, it was a fair matchup, and I thought even an unfair matchup, you know, in terms of like KSI, like you're battling against a guy who's been like, I think, a way better boxer, and he obviously won. But it was a pretty competitive one. But that's what I'm saying. Like, as long as it's just competitive, you can get involved with it, because then, like you said, with sports, it's like that is what the core of it is. It's like competitive competition, even if it's not at the highest level. Like, we know Jake Paul isn't going to be a champion. If he fights a guy like when he fought Tyron Woodley the first time, especially, I felt like, okay, you know what? Yeah, is Tyron Woodley an older MMA guy? Yeah, absolutely. Did he just leave the UFC? Yeah, but at the same time, he is not like so washed. I felt like that matchup was fine. It was not like terrible in terms of like, he had worse. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think even him going up against Julio Cesar Chavez, I think this year, I didn't even watch that fight at all. But that once again, Julio Cesar Chavez lost against Anderson Silva. So it's like, you know, it doesn't really make sense for him to be going backwards.
Yeah, shout out Anderson Silva for faking a kick in a fucking boxing match. And
I know. He stole the show.
Getting a KO with that. That was hilarious. Yeah, Anderson Silva definitely stole the show. I mean, it was probably the best fight on the card. At least of the ones that I watched. Granted, I didn't watch the entire thing. I couldn't, especially with that pacing. It was like, slow as fuck. And just last thing I'm going to say about any of that stuff, stop doing the fucking national anthems before these things. Nobody cares.
I've been saying that. Thank you.
Dude, every sport, I just roll my eyes. It makes zero sense unless you're doing this country versus that country, like as an event. Sure, have the national anthem, but like, anyways, that's just a personal pet peeve.
1000% agree.
So I don't know if you saw this online. This is what I want to transition to. Did you see that apparent? And I don't know if this is fake news, so don't at me in the comments if this isn't even real, but apparently Walter Walker is going to have a grappling match against this dude named Zion Clark. Have you seen this?
I think I heard a little bit about it, but tell me a little bit about it.
So I knew nothing about Zion Clark previous to that. And, well, it's subject worthy of discussion. So maybe I might have to make a video about this, but so Zion is a dude who competes in like wrestling and MMA. So he's not like a fighter per se, but he's, he competes and he's had multiple like matches in both disciplines. Dude born without legs. He's got no legs.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think I did see that actually. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, shout out, bro. Against who? Walter
Walker. Yeah, so it's the only person on the planet apparently that he can't heel hook.
Yeah.
Like that is the most jokes fucking matchup. That's like matchmaking. Matchup. Which got me down a whole rabbit hole. And again, I might actually do a video on this, but I'm going to run off a list of random ass celebrity fights that have taken place over like the last 75 years, basically. And just like, listen to this and let me know how many of these you actually had heard of. So, I'll start way back in like the fucking 1940s. Apparently Frank Sinatra fought Mickey Rooney in a boxing match. And I didn't know who Mickey Rooney was. I had to look him up, but he was like one of the biggest like childhood stars in Hollywood of like all time. And Frank Sinatra got in a boxing ring and boxed him. Hugh Hefner in the 50s boxed this actor / comedian named Chuck McMahon, who was like the voice in like G.I. Joe and Transformers. Again, like super popular, back in the 50s.
I gotta look this up.
Yeah. Hugh Hefner in a boxing match. 1969, Joe Namath versus Jack Dempsey was like an actual thing that happened. They like threw down, and Joe Namath was like probably the biggest NFL star at the time. 2002. Oh wait, no, I skipped 1971. Muhammad Ali versus Wilt Chamberlain, which actually didn't end up happening because Wilt Chamberlain got scared because Ali like actually like hit him during like a press conference kind of thing, or like hit his hand or something, and he was like, "Oh, like this guy's not fucking joking. He's gonna like knock my shit out." So
that's crazy. What the hell?
Yeah, so he quit. But Muhammad Ali did fight multiple grapplers and like wrestlers, like WWE wrestlers and professional wrestlers. One of them like gave him leg damage and shit. There's like videos online of Muhammad Ali standing in the corner while this guy's just like drops in guard and starts like kicking him in the shin. Vanilla Ice versus Todd Bridges in 2002, and Shaq versus Oscar De La Hoya in 2009.
Yo, what the hell, man? I gotta see Shaq versus Oscar De La Hoya, bro. I didn't even hear about this.
Like, and they're
Man.
not as serious as the Jake Paul stuff, right? Or the Andrew Tate stuff. Like a lot of them wearing like headgear and shit, whatever. But I guess the like reason I bring all this up, A, because like I said, I'd make a funny ass fucking video to just go through all of those. But
Mm-hmm.
B, like this shit
You
is not
should.
new. This
Yeah,
shit is not new. Like apparently, as long as we've been interested in watching people fight, it's exactly what I said before. If there's like a story, a narrative, if these people are popular, I mean, people are down to watch it. My
mm-hmm.
personal favorite, like of best celebrity matchup you could make of all time. I'm from Canada. Donald Trump versus Justin Trudeau.
Yeah. No,
If
that'd be dope.
somehow you could get enough money to put those two in a ring, I think minimum 20 grand a seat for the arena would be sold out, 60,000 stadium show.
Is Katy Perry on the line or what? What?
Oh shit, that was the perfect response to that. All right, so anyways, that's it with the fight talk for today. I guess let's transition to, like I said, the YouTube stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna start straight off with a question. Is just like, what year did you start covering MMA or boxing? Like, when did you like jump into the YouTube thing for the first time? How long has it been?
It was 2022, so it was like 3 years. I had like 3 years ago, like pretty much a month ago. It was 3 years to that date. So yeah, like 3 years. I started off doing like just interviews, and then I eventually transitioned to like after like a month or so doing more discussion videos.
Okay. Did you like study in media journalism at all? Like, was this like something that you always knew you wanted to have a background in, or it was just like, yo, like I said before, yo, I'm a fan. I love watching this shit, consuming it. I think I could do it. Jump in.
Yeah, no, journalism is definitely something that I study. I definitely want to like pursue that and stuff. Like, and whether that be in MMA, I've always said like whether it be in MMA or something else, even like I have a lot of interest. Obviously, like I have also the Mic Check podcast where we just interview people, different like artists or comedians and just influencers. So like I have like a lot of different interests. MMA is obviously the huge, probably like one of my top interests. Like I'm always watching MMA, always keeping up with it, obviously. So I would say that's like one of my top, but yeah, just journalism in general, just covering whatever, especially if it could be MMA. I love doing it. Just love covering the news, whatever updates happens, and especially discussing it with my community too. Shout out to all of the community. Shout out to the Jack MMA Discord. So yeah, that's
Oh
probably the
shit.
best part of it.
Yeah, you have your own Discord and shit too. Nice.
Yeah, no, the Discord's popping. I always tell everybody, join the Discord. It's crazy. We get crazy active there. So.
Nice. Is at this point, I mean, it's only been 3 years, right? It's like I said before, it's a grind. It takes a while to, build everything. But is this like your like full time gig, or you have, like a regular day job, 9 to 5 or whatever, like a career outside of this?
Well, I do this on the side for now, but I definitely would want to make this like a career if I was making money from it, enough money. Obviously, right now, like I'm not making enough money from it, but I would love to, do it full time and fully even invest, like make more videos with that, and do bigger things with the channel as it grows. You know what I'm saying? Like always updating. Like I think even you could see people that follow the channel for years could see definitely improvement each year. Like okay, like at least there's we're upping it in some way or covering it, and I think especially next year is going to be good too. There's especially this Paramount, it's looking like a big year for UFC, so I think I'm just excited for that, I would say. And yeah, so this is just more something I'm doing on the side, but I would love to make it my main thing. And obviously I do the other side stuff, like I said, the podcast and maybe some other stuff. But
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, unless you're a famous athlete or, like coming from uh, another industry where like you're already, have a huge following or whatever, like I'm pretty sure every content creator, when they first start, it's a side hustle until it's not, right? Like, Jake Paul had a job at some point back before. Well, actually, wasn't he a fucking Disney star or
I was
whatever?
gonna say
Not,
maybe not.
yeah, yeah, whatever.
Maybe not.
Not to keep going back to Jake Paul.
Yeah.
But
But no,
okay,
that's
so,
what it is. Yeah, it's like like you got to do it on the side, and then it'll grow, and then boom.
yeah. And so you mentioned the Discord. You'd also do like live streams. I know I've seen some of your like Q&A things. Is do you find those are like, I guess, like, tell me about those. Are those better for like connecting with fans, like, getting people like into the conversation versus just doing a video where you're like, hey, here's my, essay or story or edits or whatever. Like,
Yeah, I
seems
mean,
like it serves a different purpose, right?
No, 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 and that is exactly like what the purpose is for sure. Like, originally I was just like, yo, you know what, like, we people always disagree with me. Like, let's just talk it out. Like, let's talk and kind of have like a bit of a okay. You can come to me with your hot take. What was I wrong about this week? And sometimes, a lot of times, it isn't even just that. People will just come on to say their own takes, even if I agree with it. But yeah, no, the whole point is to be talking with people. And I've met, so many people that, regularly comment on videos and regularly comment and just support the channel in general. So I've been able to actually talk to them and, actually now put names to the voices slash faces. So it's just cool. It's just good meeting people and even other people in my community now, even just replying, knowing it definitely feels like a community. And that's even what my friend Shiv, shout out to Shiv, who also does the Mike Check podcast, who he runs the Discord. He's always saying to me, he's like, yo, like, the community is crazy. They're always, like, it's a real community. So that's what I think is the best part of it. And it definitely is to, connect with fans even closer or connect just with people in general with closer. When we're talking about MMA, so they could even give their takes, and I could actually look. They can confront me if I'm wrong about something. Okay, then I got it. I get handed. So.
Yeah, no, that's it's something that I plan on getting into. But like I said, for me, it's only been like 6 months. I've been sort of playing around in this space, and um, I, I think that like exactly what you're saying, like that concept of community, right? Like if you think back in the day, you watch whatever sport you're into kind of thing. And like a big part of what you're excited about is like, the next day at work, like that proverbial water cooler, like, oh, did you see the game? It's like with the whatever,
Yeah.
scored the goal and that kind of thing. And everybody shares their, I mean, it's why talk radio became a thing. It's how, you know what I mean? It's like, so it's just, I don't know, it's fucking dope that like you can now do this, cover it, make a career out of it if you're consistent and like you said, you keep working and building, and everybody else gets to join the conversation too. It's yeah, I don't know, I like that aspect of it. um I don't have near the same subscriber count as you, but I already see some people like, dude, like I subscribed and then I saw your Joshua Van take and like now I'm out. Like if you drop one more like that, you know what I mean? It's like you
Yeah.
get that feedback from people. You're like, okay, all right, I see what's up.
Yeah, and I feel like with that, like, you can't even stress yourself out. It's just like there's always you do one thing, there's gonna be 5 people that like it, 5,000 people don't like it, or vice versa. You know what I mean? Like there's always going to be a group that likes something, a group that doesn't. So just be you, and eventually you'll find that following. You know what I'm saying? Like there'll be people that, you know, there's enough people that don't like mess with like fake stuff. They're not being disrespectful. Like, or actually understand, that you're being critical and not, being just harsh or being a dickhead, you know what I'm saying, to their favorite fighter. So, I mean, I think I'm fair. At least I could definitely go in on people when I think they deserve it and stuff, but I feel like I'm at least fair with it. And, that's why for me, I think I'm being fair. So if people are going to comment that, it's like, I know I'm being fair. I know I'm being legit. I think I'm right, so we could talk about it on live if you want. So.
Yeah, listen, I don't expect people to agree with every one of my opinions or takes in real life. I don't know why the internet would be any different than
Yeah,
that. You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? Um, so I don't know, like how much time would you say per week goes into this shit, just to like help people understand, like like what it really is.
So between like my podcast and the MMA stuff, I would probably say like, I mean, dude, the podcast especially takes up a lot of time. I would probably say we're talking like, I mean, maybe 70 hours a week, maybe more. I don't know, probably even more. Recently with my MMA stuff, I used to do 3 videos a week, but now I'm just doing videos whenever there's news. So that could be more in a week, could be less in a week, but just whenever there's news, just so it's not like forced stuff anymore. So that I did like about a month ago. But back then when it was 3 videos a week always, it was probably even more hours. It's probably like yeah, like I would say probably like 70 to 100 hours realistically of editing, researching, obviously filming it, But filming is usually the easiest part. It's like boom, okay, and then it's like editing, uploading. Oh, this went wrong. Shorts, of course, as well. Shorts is a big thing that take up my time. So yeah, I would probably say a lot of time though. It definitely takes a lot of time. Or maybe, I mean, if you're doing like one video a week, maybe it wouldn't be as much. But like doing multiple, covering the news, having to be, like always looking, it's definitely a lot of hours.
Yeah, no kidding. And especially like doing those like live streams and the Q&A and all that stuff. I mean, if you sit there on the mic for 5 hours, that's 5 hours of camera time. And then to your point, if you're going to cut it up into shorts or clips or like do a bunch of stuff, you have to edit shit out. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's been something I'm learning as I go along where it's like sometimes the videos that I put the most time into don't pop at all. And then sometimes it's like just me, like you said, like reacting to the news or whatever. And it's like, oh, that one blew up. So it's like trying to find that sweet spot where, you know what I mean? Like the ROI is there to kind of, yeah, I don't know. Like, and at the end of the day, you don't always know what the fuck's going to land. Some of the
Mm-hmm.
best ideas I've had in my mind didn't hit at all. And some of the random shit was like, kind of blew. So who knows? Um, what would you say is like before you started like 3 years ago? So like, what's like the number one, like, oh shit, I didn't know that about doing this, like as a career, like as a serious, thing.
I think especially like my knowledge on like the data has grown and like what people want to see. I would just say yeah, like overall, just observing like being able to kind of look at it more as okay, like what are people watching? Why are they watching? Opposed to just before just watching. Oh, who cares? I'm not thinking about this. But like sometimes even in a video, like I'll notice okay, like this guy did this to keep me going or keep watching or get people to keep watching, or even myself like knowing okay well this video the retention was low, okay so let me try this and just trial and error type stuff, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that because like you start to develop like a critical eye, like
Mm-hmm.
like we were talking about my 7 levels of MMA YouTuber video, which you and I had spoken about before, and like I started making it, and then I like okay, took a step back, like let me watch like this couple minutes that I put together, and I was like, you know what? Nah, I'm missing this piece, and I should change this around because I think it'll land better based on stuff that I've seen before. So yeah, it's something that you learn as you go along, but what about for someone like watching this right now who hasn't started at all? If you had to, just give that like proverbial advice, like, a couple things or whatever, someone's never jumped into it at all. It's like, what's some of the most important things that they would need to know?
I would say like I mean I would just say first of all just do it because I feel like a lot of people like oh like oh should I do it, this got to be right, like the stars got to align perfectly, like just do it, like what I'm saying, just go for it, whatever you got, try to go. And I would probably say like secondly the most important thing I think just keep it simple, like just be careful especially in the beginning, don't put like bullshit in the video, like just get straight to the point right away. And as the video goes on you could add a little more fluff type stuff, but I would say just try to keep it going in this age of like short retention, you gotta just or short attention span, you gotta keep their attention boom right off the gate, like all right, get them locked in as soon as they hit the video. That would be my opinion.
You mentioned it, and I did notice this too about your channel that like at the very beginning you were doing interviews and shit, and you got like you were at like Sarah Longo, you like interviewing Marab and Aljo and stuff like that. This is like I think something I know it's something I struggle with because like obviously I'd love to interview fighters, right? But I'm like, well, if fighter or someone who's going to accept an interview, if you don't have the views yet, why would they accept the interview? Like that, like reaching out, the response. You obviously went there and you interviewed them. I mean, talk to us about that. Like, how did that come together? How did you reach out to them? Were they, encouraging? Like, yeah, come in. Was it because you had a hookup or an in? Like, you know, helping it. Like anyone
Yeah.
looking to do that. Like, what's the process? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, I got so well, first of all, with MMA, just people in general, I will say this: like, it is extremely tough, and it's just why I dropped the interview stuff to interview fighters. I feel like a lot of them, I think they have a lot of managers, and I think that's what the problem is. But I seriously think MMA fighters are extremely missing out not doing interviews. Like I said, not to keep plugging the mic check, but if I do a different podcast where I don't interview fighters. It is a million times easier to get interviews for any other thing. I'm telling you, even people with big followings, they understand the value of coming in. And look, you never know, a viral moment could come from it, even if it's a podcast you never even heard of or whatever. Like it doesn't matter the following. Like shorts can come from that, clips can come from that. You could repurpose clips from that for your own self. It's an opportunity for yourself, period, you know? So I think that they should, honestly, fighters should take that, especially when we're talking about guys where you don't know, like who will I be in 5 years? You know what I'm saying? If you hop on, you know, we do an interview together, it's like, okay, well, now you could be getting promoted by, who knows, the next big MMA YouTuber guy. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and it doesn't just go for me, it can go for anybody. You know, you should be accepting those interviews. But that's just my opinion. I'll answer your question on the Aljamain thing, how that happened. That I didn't set up at all. That was just he had an event there, and I went there to try to get an interview with at least one of them, whether it was Marab, Aljo, or Ray Longo. Obviously, I did get all three, so that was a big bonus. But they were all chill about it. Like, I just asked them for an interview after they did their little thing. It was before the TJ Dillashaw fight. So he had some sort of event at his gym, and I saw that he posted it. And I live in New York, so I was like, all right, you know what? I'll go. Why not? It was pretty far to get to, but I still went. And look, at least I got the interview, so that was good. And I actually was able to go to the gym. So now I know somebody that does go to that gym. So shout out to them.
Dope. Yeah. Yeah. My, actually, no, you know what? I was going to share a story, but I don't want to make this about me. So, I mean, you mentioned it, like, you know, people, like the value of people doing interviews, because you don't ever really know where any of those creators are going to go. Right. So it's like, if you're serious about your career, you're like planting seeds with all these like places that you know, showcased yourself. And if any one of them pop, because they're all putting work into this, obviously, right, and promoting it and themselves and their brand, you attach yourself to that. And if they blow up, then yeah, that interview can resurface even years later or whatever, right?
1,000%. And even this, like, I had someone on my podcast who he made a short himself. He posted it himself from the podcast, and that got him like 300K views. It got him, I'm saying, like 5,000 new followers, where now he actually has a following. Before, he didn't have as much of a following. It was more people that he knew and people that, you know, followed him through the years. But his following literally grew 4 times the amount because he went on the podcast. If you didn't go on that podcast and decide, hey, let me go, and he was the first guest we've ever had, by the way. So no following, 0 following. You go on a podcast, boom. You know what I'm saying? Right there. That's why I'm saying these fighters, I think, should be taking these opportunities. Yo, let me go do this. Media is just as important as the fighting. Fighters think, oh, look, in an ideal world, yeah, it would be great. You know, you go in there, you get the knockout, boom, your job is done. But realistically, in combat sports, you know, it doesn't work like that. So I think that they should be taking those opportunities, you know.
Perfect example of that. Do you know who Will Fury is?
Will Fury? Yeah. Tommy Fury and Tyson Fury's brother, or?
Actually, no. It's not. Now I'm going to have to fact check myself on this.
I think he has a Will Fury. No, I think there is a Will Fury in the family, but maybe you're talking about someone else.
I don't think they're fucking related. Nah, it can't be related. They would have announced it.
Probably someone else.
Yeah, actually, no. It's not even spelt the same. It's like Fleury.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, perfect example of this. I remember I was telling you earlier that I did a live stream. Whoa, what's going on here? Fuck off. Sorry. Yeah, I did a live stream yesterday because I wanted to start playing around with live streaming, and I ended up watching Octagon, which is like the Eastern European promotion, and their heavyweight and light heavyweight champ is this Irish fighter named Will Fury, and yesterday he was fighting Martin Budai, who used to be in the UFC, right? He was like 7-1. He was a heavyweight, but he was like kind of boring, fought the decisions all the time, so they kicked him out or didn't renew his contract. He was the Octagon heavyweight champ before he came to the UFC. So he came back and was fighting this guy, Will Fury, who's now 16-3. And he cracked him in the first round. Like Budai went for like a low leg kick, and he grabbed the kick and just boom and dropped him.
Wow.
And the reason why I bring him up is like, I'm like, you know, obviously saw that it was a highlight. I, you know, did a little video about it. It was kind of popping or whatever. And I was like, dude, like the UFC could use some heavyweight talent. You know what I mean? And like, you watch this guy's fights and you're like, okay, wow, like whatever. Octagon's a big promotion. They're probably paying him more than the, you know, 10 and 10 that the UFC would start him out. So he probably would never come. But like the point being is like, if you look at these like Octagon stars or, you know, stars from other promotions and they have, you know, like 20K Instagram followers, 30K, whatever. When people talk about fighter pay in the UFC and like how little they give them in comparison to how much revenue they generate, like this is the reason why. It's because if you fight in the UFC and you pop, like to your point, it's like whether it's interviews or, you know, your performance in the ring or in the octagon, and like if you like you have a platform, and if you
Hmm.
grow, like your exponential star, you know, it could be world renowned, whatever, like a Topuria or a Conor McGregor. Whereas like you could be getting highlight knockouts and like be a great athlete and dominating everybody in another promotion, and there's just not as much eyeballs on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, 50% of your career is dependent upon, you know, how popular you can make yourself,
Yeah.
which is, you know.
And that's why I think a lot of them don't do interviews, because I think they say, "Oh, I'm in the UFC, I made it." Like, no, you could easily get cut, and that's that. Like, especially unless you're like a, you know, the champ or a top five. Okay, I understand you being picky and choosy about interviews, but if you're in the even outside the top five, I mean, there's a lot of fighters that are even in the top five that could benefit from just doing an interview or whatever, a simple interview. But especially if you're not in the top five, why not just accept the opportunity? You don't got to accept every opportunity, I'm sure, but you know, like it's crazy. None of them. I don't see them ever. I don't really see that many fighter interviews. Period. You know, it's not like they're saying no to certain people. It's just like they're saying no to everybody, unless like you're a really big name. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. But what about and what's confusing to me is the smaller fighters. Like, you're not getting asked even to get interviewed by these big names, so it's like you're not going to do any interviews, period. You're just going to wait for media day. Like, you should be making some viral stuff. Call out this fighter in this interview, you know, because then, especially if you go towards these like creators with 10K, you know, 5K, 15K, 20K, they're probably going to be way more motivated to pump those clips out too. You know what I'm saying? They're going to try to grow their own stuff. So it's literally free promotion. You know, all you got to do is show up. So that's what I think. But I agree with you. I think, you know, like you said, it is all about eyeballs, you know?
Yeah, I mean, listen, maybe I'm biased because like now I'm, you know, working on this side of it. But if I was a fighter, I'd do like anybody that asked me to do an interview, I would do it,
Mm-hmm.
because what like, especially if it's remote, you know what I mean? Like, what do I have to lose? This is not like an hour out of my day. Like, if that person has, you know, 200, like that creator has 200 like avid loyal followers, that's 200 people who are going to hear your story that didn't before. And fighting is as much, if not more than any other sport, it's about investment in the actual athletes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like the people, like, yes, you know, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, you know, like Tom Brady, whatever. Like, yeah, people obviously become invested in their career as well. But in team sports, there's all this other stuff going on. It's not always about one person fighting. It's you, like the people's eyeballs are on you for the duration of that fight. There's no looking around or, you know, actions, like not this part. It's like, it's there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I mean, I guess, anything else you want to add?
Nah, I mean, I
No?
appreciate you for having me on, and shout out to you, shout out to what you're doing. Like I said to you, I said this to you when we talked. I love the idea, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, the video, so the MMA YouTube video tier, the tier list that you did for the YouTubers, I thought was a great video. Go check it out, y'all. It's popping out, so let's hopefully shout out it goes even more popping. But no, I appreciate you for having me on. Check out Jack MMA, and the mic check too. So both. And when you're in New York, yo, you gotta let me know. You come in
Oh
New
yeah.
York, you can come on the mic check, bro, and you'll come on and we'll do a little. You'll get your side of the story here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Next time I'm there for sure, we'll link up. And yeah, I'll put your like your all your links and everything obviously in the video, so people that want to check it out can hit it.
No
Like
doubt.
I said, I'm going to drop at least one episode every week, and it's going to be a different YouTube creator. But I mean, let me know in the comments, if you want to, you know, hear more about the YouTube side of things, you know, the creative process and all that, or if actually you prefer to just listen to us talk about, random UFC shit. If you find that more interesting, we can go in any direction. I guess last thing I'll say is, again, to your point about like, you never know, if you do an interview with someone, if they're going to, if they're going to blow up or whatever. Dude, basically this is episode 1 of the podcast. So you're basically like the Ari Shafir to Joe Rogan. He was literally the first guest that Rogan had on like episode 2 or whatever. So, when I hit Rogan size, you did like, there's nowhere but up for you, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I hope. Look, that's why you think I agree. And I'm like, oh, come on, I'm praying here. No. But I also like what you're doing, for real. And like I said, hopefully we'll both have top podcast. You'll have Joe Rogan. I don't know what I'll have. I don't know what's another top podcast. Breakfast Club, shout out. I don't know, something like that. You know what I mean? And we'll collab, we'll cross paths. But nah, man, I like what you're doing, and keep doing it, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. Same to you. And if you ever want to do, if you want to have someone else on for a watch along or vice versa, always down.
Yeah,
always down for sure.
Let's do it.
Cool. Cheers. All right. That's it, everybody. Thanks for watching.